Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavancha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dheerabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Sonika ji, for that kind round of introductions. After hearing the introduction, I feel like remarking what Krishna says in the last verse of this chapter. Krishna says that whatever you hear about my opulence, and this chapter is entitled The Opulence of the Absolutes, the 10th chapter. He says that whatever you hear, with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. And before that, he says, Yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam srimudurjitam eva tattadevavi gachantam mama tejo amsha sambhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So if you at all think that there is something in me to be explained or glorified, it is merely a fragment of the spark of the glories of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And that is what we'll be focusing on this chapter, the opulence of the absolute or Vibhuti Yoga. So I thank my dear friend Pandav Prem Prabhu for inviting me for this opportunity to glorify Bhagavad Gītā. It's a privilege, and he's been my friend for nearly 15 years, and that's what friends are for, giving each other opportunities to glorify the Supreme Lord. So at the end of the 9th chapter, the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, he described his pure devotees. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mame vashyasyuktevam atmanamat parayana. Interestingly, 9.34 and 18.65, literally in one sense the half of the Gītā, and towards the end of the Gītā, the same concept of Manmana bhavamad bhakto comes through. So the underlying theme of the entire Bhagavad Gītā is to become a devotee of Sri Krishna. It is not becoming a jnani or following some karma yoga, hatha yoga, dhyana yoga, etc. It's very, very, very clear. It just says that it's like this. Somebody tells you that meet me at 10 o'clock and get me a glass of milk. And this he tells you at 9 o'clock. And at 9:45 he comes and tells you that skip the milk, get me water at 10 o'clock. So naturally the overriding instruction is what he has told you at 9:45. Forget whatever has been said before. Quite similarly, Krishna may say many things. Right through Gītā, he is taken Arjuna through a progression of streams of knowledge. And then he says, abandon all the varieties of religion and surrender unto me. So the underlying theme of pure devotion of the Bhagavad Gītā runs deep into the 10th chapter, which is part of Bhakti Yoga. Chapter 7 to 12 is an element of the Bhakti Yoga portion of the Bhagavad Gītā. So he described pure devotional service in the 9th chapter, and then he also showed how he reciprocates with his devotees. So then he concluded that 9th chapter with this most confidential knowledge, which is this Manmana Bhavan Bhakto. Engage your mind always in thinking of me and become my devotee. So now Krishna will now continue to reveal the confidential essence of the knowledge, because he talks about Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam, Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam, Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So this is joyfully performed and revealed. Pratyaksha Vagamam, directly perceived. So that knowledge is further revealed. He will continue to reveal the confidential essence of knowledge. And what is that called? This is called Vibhuti Yoga, the opulence of the absolute. So here, Krishna will further describe his own glories, his opulence, and his exact position. Who is he? So it's like this. If we come to know that our friend is a millionaire or a billionaire or a big shot or a VIP, our appreciation for that person increases manifold. Although our relationship with the person is not based on whether he's a billionaire or not, but the moment we come to know that here is a man and the snap of his fingers, he gets everything done. He's got great people following him. So then our appreciation for that person increases and we seek to know him even more. We would like to know more about him. So there is greater appreciation, gratitude for the good fortune of having his friendship in our lives. So Krishna's opulence is at the same time knowable and unknowable. So is this a contradiction? No, it's not a contradiction. What is mentioned is, of course, Srila Jiva Goswami, a great Acharya, says that if you consider a personality as Bhagavan, then inconceivability is a concept that is woven into Bhagavan. Bhagavan has to be inconceivable. Anoraniyan Mahator Mahiyan is the greatest of the greatest and smallest of the smallest. That is not possible in the material world. But for Krishna, it is perfectly possible to be like that. And so, it is mentioned that we can know the unknowable to some degree, not through our own limited abilities, but when Krishna personally reveals himself to us, then we will be able to know Krishna. So that is how he is simultaneously knowable and unknowable. So even a fraction of knowledge about Krishna's great qualities and the opulence and his unknowable position, it really inspires us to become his devotee. It makes us get closer to him. It makes us feel more intimate towards him. And so here, that Krishna is saying that I will give you knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Gukhya taram. There is Gukhyam, Gukhya taram, Gukhya tamam. So this is slightly better knowledge. Whatever knowledge is revealed is very good, even better. So let us get into this presentation that we have for this chapter. Before that, I just want to give a small feel of, yeah. So between chapter 9 and chapter 10, there is a certain connection. What is the connection? In the 9th chapter, Krishna mentioned clearly about devotional service. Now, to help generate further devotion in Arjuna, Krishna is explaining about his opulences. So that is this chapter. So the first 7 verses of this chapter mention about Krishna, how he is unknowable, and one can serve him understanding that he is not knowable. So we don't want to love Krishna, and so we don't want to see Krishna, we don't want to know Krishna, we want to serve Krishna. One second. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, Prabhuji. It is visible.
Okay. So, Bhagavad Gītā, chapter 10, the opulence of the absolute. So, in the 9th chapter, as we discussed, the first 3 verses talk about the knowledge per se of the Gītā. What is the qualification of a recipient of the knowledge? What is the nature of the knowledge? And the qualification is that of Bhaktosimi Sakacheti, a friend and a devotee. That's what Arjuna is. And what is the nature of the knowledge? Raja Vidya, Raja Gukhyam, Pavitram, Idamuttamam. Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmyam Susukam is joyfully performed. Raja Vidya is king of knowledge. And it is everlasting and all your sins are purified. That's the nature of the knowledge of the Gītā. So then, the second element is how inconceivable is Krishna. what will be inconceivable? His qualities are inconceivable. The creation made by Krishna is also inconceivable. So this is from the 4th to 10th verse of the 9th chapter. And further, from the 11th to 25th verse, Krishna talks about who neglects him, who neglects or accepts him, and what are Krishna's dealings with his universe and with the devotees, and what are the results of these dealings. And then in the last 9 verses, Krishna talks about the necessity of worshipping him and how it grants one freedom from miseries, and how one gets an eternal life of happiness by following devotional service. So, a very interesting point that the whole chapter Arjuna doesn't speak. In fact, practically from the middle of the previous chapter, 8th chapter, after 8.2, Arjuna doesn't speak at all. It's all Krishna. Let's get into the 10th chapter. This is the breakup of the 10th chapter. The first 7 verses talk about how Krishna is the source of everything. And the verses 10.8 to 10.11 are called the Chatushloki Gītā, or the essence of Bhagavad Gītā. So don't believe all those tricksters who say that Gītā ka sar is this. This, what was there yesterday, what is there today, what is there tomorrow, changes the essence of life. Kya leke aaye ho, kya leke jaoge. All this is not the essence of Gītā. It's not nowhere mentioned in the Gītā. The essence of the Gītā is this, verses 10.8 to 10.11. And Srila Prabhupada says the summary of the essence of Bhagavad Gītá is 11.55, which you will study in the next week. So 10.8 to 10.11 is the Chatushloki Gītā. So after hearing about this, Arjuna's inquisitiveness increases. In fact, he wants literally, it's practically that his ears are becoming his tongue. He wants to taste the glories of the Supreme Lord. The nectar of the instructions he wants to hear from Krishna. So 10.12 to 10.19 is that. And in the last 23 verses from 20 to 42, Krishna himself reveals how we can see him everywhere. So the first 7 verses talk about how Krishna is the source of everything. Everybody gets bewildered. How Brahma got bewildered and Krishna expanded himself into millions of cowherd boys and calves. When Brahma stole away seemingly these cowherd boys and calves in order to effectively test Krishna, or when Indra showered immense rain on Brajavasis, and how Krishna picked up and carried Giriraj Govardhan and held it aloft for 7 days and 7 nights, resisting all this rain and this torrent. So how their pride was, and how they got bewildered by Krishna. So effectively, Krishna is the source of everything. So how do we know Krishna? We have to know Krishna simply as this. He is the source of everything. He is the source of all. He is the known yet unknown. Now we may think that the demigods like Brahma and Indra, they are not able to know Krishna because they have some kind of propensity to enjoy, like the demigods are constantly enjoying themselves in the heavenly planets. No, but then it's very clear. Krishna mentions in the 2nd verse itself that it is not just the demigods, but even the rishis, the sages, they also don't know me. Because in every respect, I am the source of the demigods and the sages. It's a very interesting shloka. It goes like, Name vidussuragana prabhavam namaharshayah aham adirhideva anam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. So these are the hosts of demigods, not the great sages, no my origin or opulences, for in every respect, I am the source of the demigods and the sages. So most people cannot know Krishna because in his actual position he is unknowable. Still, out of his causeless mercy, Meaning mercy because he wants to be merciful. That's all. No other reason. Not because we are qualified. He descends to show favor to such speculators. Krishna himself appears. So only the devotees, Prabhupada mentions in the purport of the second verse, 10th chapter, second verse, only the devotees who are fully surrendered unto the Supreme Lord can understand by the grace of the Supreme Personality that he is Krishna. The devotees of the Lord do not bother about the impersonal Brahman conception of God. Their faith and devotion bring them to surrender immediately unto the Supreme Lord. And out of the costless mercy of Krishna, they can understand Krishna. No one else can understand him. So even great sages agree. What is Atma? What is the Supreme? It is he whom we have to worship. So that's what it is. The very first verse, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Bhuya eva mahabaho srudu me paramam vachaha yatte ham priyamanaya bhakshyami hitakamyaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, Mahabaho, mighty armed. Because you are my dear friend, yatte aham priyamanaya, you are very dear to me. So for your benefit, bhakshyami hitakamyaya, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further. Bhuya, I will speak to you further. Giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. Better knowledge. Srudume paramam vachaha. Even better. So, what is that? The second verse, he confirms that he is the source of everything. Namay vida suragana prabhavam na maharsheha aham adarhi devana maharshinam cha sarvashaha. What we just read. Now let's look at what is 10.6. In 10.6, Maharshaya sapta purve chatvaro manavastata madbhava manasa jata yesham loka ima prajaha. The seven great sages, Mariti, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, and Vasishta, they are the Sapta Rishis. Before them, the four other great sages, that is Sanaka, Sanat, Sananda, and Sanat. Sanak, Sanatan, Sanat, and Sananda. Four Kumaras. And the Manus, the progenitors of mankind, they are Manavas. They are coming from Manu. They come from me, born from my mind, Krishna says. Madbhava Manasa Jata. And all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. So Krishna is very clear. Says that there are a total of 25 great sages. The 14 Manus, the 7 great sages, that is 14 plus 7, 21, and the 4 Kumaras, that is 25 personalities. So all of them are born in all the universes out of these 25 patriarchs. So then Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods. And by Krishna's mercy, he knew how to create. And from Brahma came the 4 Kumaras, then Rudra, and the 7 sages. So that's why Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, etc. were born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Brahma is himself known as Pitamaha, the grandfather. So Krishna is therefore Prapitamaha, the father of the grandfather. So this comes in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gītā, which we will learn tomorrow. The 11th chapter, 39th verse, talks about, I thought we shouldn't just be PPT driven. There is a statement called death by PowerPoint. So we don't want to do that. So here it's mentioned that Prajapatisthvam Prapitamahascha. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. Arjuna has addressed the universal form of Krishna. So in other words, Krishna is the source of all. So, what is the lesson for us? It's a lesson, life lesson, because we are talking about uh, this is Gita made easy, so we need to know what are the lessons. Krishna is the source of all good things. Krishna is the source of all good things. So, what about, is he the source of evil also? The answer to that is there darkness in the sun? No. There is no darkness in the sun. Darkness is the absence of the sun. So Krishna is good, God is good. So absence of good is evil. So where we choose not to accept divinity in our life, there is evil. And so Krishna is known yet the unknown. Neither the host of demigods, what we just discussed, nobody knows him. Stitagraiva Damodaram Bhakti Baddham. Mother Yashoda had no concept that her son is God. But she could bind him with love, the rope of love. So it is Kunti Maharani prays that Gopyadado Tvaikadagase Damatavas Tyade the Shastra Kalilanjana Sambramaksham Bhaktram Niriya Bhaya Bhavanaya Siddhasya Sama Bimohe de Bhirabiyat Bhibeti. Fear personified is afraid of you, my dear Lord, yet you are scared and your mother is chasing you with a stick. So that is how Krishna is known yet unknown. He could never be caught by Kala Yavana, the great demon, was so fast. Krishna was casually walking. Yet, his mother, who was by nature slightly fatter, and when he himself was a little boy, she could catch him. So, how is that? So, that is because though Krishna is inconceivable and unapproachable, yet Krishna can be bound only by the ropes of love. And every time Mother Yashoda was trying to bind him, it was always 2 inches short. And our acharyas conclude that these 2 inches represent endeavor and mercy. So when the living entity endeavors to know the Supreme Lord, to serve Him, to love Him, then Krishna reveals through His mercy. And subject to His mercy, commensurate with His mercy, proportionate to His mercy, we are able to understand. Ye thamam prapatyante tam stataiva vajamyaham. Mama vartmana vartante manusya partha sarvashaha. To the extent that we take shelter of the Supreme Lord, He will reveal Himself to us. So now, starting verse 10 to verses 8 to 11 is the Chatushloki Gītā, the real essence of the Gītā. It'll be nice if you can memorize these 4 shlokas at some point of time in your life. At least you can say, I know the whole essence of Gītā. Am sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava sammanvitaha. So I am the source of all spiritual and material laws. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in me, engage in my devotion service and matva bhajante mam, bhajante mam. Engage in my devotion service. Buddha bhava samanvita. Worship me with all their hearts. With the right bhava. And everything comes from me. I am the source of everything. So the intelligent people understand this. So therefore, what happens if somebody knows that Krishna is great? This is what happens. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kadayandascha nityam tushyanti charamanticha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Bodhayanta parasparam. They keep telling about me to each other. Kadayandascha nityam. Always. They enlighten each other about Krishna. And then what happens to them? So tushyanticha ramanticha. Satisfaction and bliss are derived by these pure devotees. Who are the pure devotees? These are the people who understand that Krishna is God and worship Him accordingly with love and devotion. So, very interesting point. One who understands Krishna perfectly from a bona fide spiritual master will worship Him with great love and attention. Thus, knowing of His greatness leads to full surrender, and full surrender is followed by bhava. So this is the sequence. Know that Krishna is great. This will make you surrender to him. And when you surrender, you develop great love or bhava for Krishna. So this ninth verse, Madgata Prana, Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, the great Acharya, says that Krishna is the life and soul of his devotees. He's the life of his devotees. They cannot live for a moment in separation from Krishna. Just like a fish out of water can not survive beyond a moment. So Krishna is their life. And Krishna Katha, talking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, is their nourishment. And so they talk about Krishna to each other. They loudly chant his names. And they discuss his form, his qualities, his pastimes, his attributes. And it's very interesting. A pure devotee's love for Krishna and attraction for him is as natural as the attraction of a young boy to a young girl. Yuvatina metha yunim yunam cha yuvatam yata manobi ramate tattvan manome ramatam tvai. That should be our prayer. Our prayer to the Supreme Lord. My dear Lord, may I have attraction for your lotus feet just like a young boy has attraction for a young girl and vice versa. Such intensity of attraction. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter, 54th verse mentions that Sadhusanga Sarva Shastrakai Lavamatra Sadhusanga Sarva Siddhihai. So the verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. What is that success? By a moment of association with a devotee, one can get to know the Supreme Lord and worship him with all the heart, and that will get us all the success. So the pure devotees are like super magnets. They convert iron fillings to magnet. That's their qualification. That's what they do to us. So then what is Krishna's reciprocation to his devotees? In this case, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pridi purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So there is this cartoon that is floating around these days because the Bhagavad Gītā Jayanti is coming up. They are all distributing the Bhagavad Gītā across the world now. In freezing temperatures of minus 40 in Siberia, our devotees are distributing Bhagavad Gītas. The sweltering heat of mainland Africa, devotees are distributing Gītā. And in the interim winter of Delhi, you also have devotees distributing Gītā. People like you. And of course, people like me. So, the devotee really says, please, my Lord, talk to me. And a blue hand extends with this message. This Buddhi Yogam is the Lord's special mercy, the intelligence that He gives to us to make us go to Him. That's the Gītā. The Gītā, the Bhagavatam. This Buddhi Yogam is direct inspiration by Krishna. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it's directly inspiration. Because the devotee desires to know Krishna. Like I said, endeavor and mercy. The desire is there, the endeavor is there. So what happens? The Krishna bestows the mercy by giving the inspiration about his knowledge. And so, further, the reciprocation continues. Teshamevanu partam ahamajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. So they show them special mercy at dwelling in their hearts, destroying the shining lamp of knowledge, the darkness born of ignorance. So Krishna becomes Atma Bhavasta, just like a bee inside a lotus flower. Atma Bhavasta. Interestingly, it is Bhavasta and Bhasvata both. So Bhavasta means, in my personal form, Krishna says, I reveal all my qualities. And with the shining lamp of knowledge of these qualities. Jnana Deepena, the shining lamp of knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of Krishna's name, form, qualities. And what does he do? I destroy the darkness of the ignorance. Ajnanajam tamaha. Darkness born out of ignorance. Of what? Born of anadi karma. Beginningless karma. For a long time it's been there, all the kind of karma. This obstructs our true knowledge. This causes our ignorance. You're not able to have true knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Because of this ignorance, we have hankering for things other than Krishna. We don't love Krishna. If we develop the intensity of desire for developing love of God, then Krishna, out of his mercy, will reveal himself to us. So it's Acharya said the pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and in the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life, but he need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from the heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gītā. By studying Bhagavad Gītā, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors, which is what is mentioned here. Ashyami atma bhavasto ajnanajam tamaha nashyami. So, Krishna is saying, our acharyas are saying, Krishna is saying, because I personally destroy their ignorance, why should they have to endeavor? According to my own words, Krishna says that I supply all the necessities, both material and spiritual, because I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. Of whom? To those who always worship me with devotion. So that's the point. So if somebody worships with devotion, they will get the mercy of Krishna removing the ignorance from the heart. In other words, purity is the force. If we are pure devotees, Krishna will reveal himself to us. He gives us the knowledge to come back to him. And therefore, books or the scriptures are the basis from which we can get to know Krishna. There are three steps to progress as per the spiritual system. There is Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayodhana. Sambandha is the awareness of spiritual topics, of topics of self-realization, of Supreme Lord and the individual living entity. Abhideya is the process to connect to this Sambandha. Prayodhana is the result of the goal of this. So awareness or Sambandha means what? We discuss in this Chatusloka Gītā. It helps us know the relationship with Krishna and his universe. Krishna is the source of everything that exists. Aham sarvasva prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. And is a source of knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yanamam upayantate. And on top of that, he destroys all the impediments on our path of awareness. Nashyami atma bhavasto yanadipena bhasvata. So the process to apply this Sambandha Jnana in day-to-day life and practice regularly, that is called Abhideya. Abhideya talks about the surrender of the devotee, which is what the devotee does. That is in 10.8, which is Iti Matva Bhajantema Buddha Bhava Samanvita, worship me. And then what happens? Machitta Madgata Prana, thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. So that is a process, thinking about the Supreme Lord. And then what happens? They deal in a life that is fully devoted to my service. Katayenda Shabam Nityam, regularly, every day, fully. So what is the priority? What is the fruit of this? One can develop love for Krishna. Dadami Buddhi Yogam, one can become knowledgeable. One can be protected. Nashyami atma bhavasto. Ajnanajam tamaha nashayami. And therefore, the result also is that Krishna's devotees derive great satisfaction and bliss always about conversing about him. Krishna teacher, Raman teacher. So these are the three of a spiritual life. What is the relationship with the Lord? How do we revive the relationship with the process? And what is the result or the goal of this? And in the 12th verse, Arjuna says, because Krishna has already revealed all this truth, Arjuna is surrendering, saying that Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram param bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevam ajam vibhum. So Arjuna said, you are the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, param dhama, pavitram, the purest, paramam, the absolute truth, purusham, you are the eternal, the original person, shashvatam, you are eternal, divyam, you are transcendental, and Adidevam, Ajam Vibhum, Adidevam, the greatest, the original person, and Vibhum is the greatest, Ajam is the unbound, that is Krishna. Arjuna is glorifying Krishna with all these terms. Arjuna is calling Krishna as Pavitram Paramam, the supreme pure. In other words, one who knows Krishna as pure will also become pure. That's what it means. One who knows Krishna as pure will also become pure. So in the next 5 verses from 14 to 18, Arjuna is asking Krishna to explain more about his glories. So the lesson for life for us is that when you love or like something or someone, express it, tell it like it is. That makes the whole experience sweeter, both for you and for the others. It's very, very important to express what you feel. It's not sufficient if you love somebody to just try and impress. It's more important to express. The small spelling mistake, opulences is only one P. So then Arjuna further questions in verse 16, 17, and 18. He's asking Krishna, please describe your opulences. He's asking Krishna. This is verse 16. Bhaktumarha Sasheshena. Describe. Divyakya Atma Vibhutayaha. Atma Vibhutaya is opulences, Krishna's opulences. Then 17th verse. How shall I know you? Katham vidyamaham yogim swam sada parishintaya. Aham vidyamaham. How shall I know you? How shall I think of you? Sada parichintayan. Twam sada parichintayan. How shall I constantly think of you? Chintyosi bhagavan maya. So how can I remember you? How can I think of you? And he's telling Krishna, Bhuya katapya triptirhi shrણmato nasti me mratam. Please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you. For the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Like I said, Krishna is developing a tongue. His ears are becoming his tongue to almost taste the nectar of Krishna's words. What we just discussed. Bhuya kataya triptirhi. Shrimato nasti me amrutam. The more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. But why is Arjuna asking for more? He's asking for the common people so that everyone can hear about Krishna's knowledge. Because at a certain point of time, after one becomes pure, one is more worried about others than himself. One is worried about Krishna, one is worried about others. When one becomes purer. So that everybody can hear about Krishna's opulence. And for those who are devotees, they can taste more the nectar of Krishna's sweet pastimes, of his greatness. And for he himself, Arjuna is asking for his own personal absorption, so that one can think of him at the time of death, for all of us, not just for him. So for one's own personal absorption, for the sake of those people who don't yet know Krishna, so that they can hear about his opulence, and for the sake of those who already know Krishna, so that they can taste the nectar of Krishna. So in other words, details, knowing more about Krishna's greatness, his glories, his beauties, his opulences, his capabilities, it is a symptom of love. Detail is a symptom of love. To know more. The purer we become, the more we think of the Lord and others and less of ourselves. That is true compassion. So that's what we discussed. Like I said, across the world, devotees are distributing Bhagavad Gītā. We don't distribute Gītā because we're pure. We're distributing Gītā because we want to please the pure, which is Krishna. And the more we keep distributing the books and distributing the mercy of the Supreme Lord, the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, the fact that we think of Him and others and their benefit more, and with Krishna's pleasure more, so we become purer. So by being compassionate, we become pure, and by becoming purer, we become more compassionate. So between verses 20 and 42, Krishna is explaining how he can be seen everywhere. So this is like a glimpse of a fragment of Krishna's glories. Krishna is the essence of everything that is mentioned. So among the senses is the mind, then he is the life force, among the water bodies is the ocean, among the forest dwelling animals is the lion, among yajnas is japa yajna, yajnanam japa yajnosmi, among the sages is Narada, among the demons is Prahlada, the great devotee of the Lord. Among the quick flowing rivers is the Ganga. For fine speech is silence, is death, mrityu, sarva, haras, chaham. Adhyatma Vidya is spiritual science. That is Krishna. Krishna is present everywhere. So what are the devotion of our heart? By developing eagerness to hear about Krishna. Hearing about Krishna increases the faith, conviction, and determination. Mother Rukmani fell in love with Krishna before even seeing him, just by hearing about him from great sages. So by hearing about the Supreme Lord increases our faith, conviction, and determination. And Krishna says further, Atava bahunayitena kim jnatena tavarjuna vishtabhyahamidam krishnam ekam shena sthito jagat. Why do I need to give you all these details? With just a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe, Krishna is saying. In other words, anything that is good inside me is a reflection of Krishna. That's an understanding we should all have. So to just review the chapter, the first 7 sources, the first 7 chapters we discuss how Krishna is the source of everything. To know him, the unknowable, he is known yet unknown. Chapter 10, 8 to 11 is the essence of the Gītā. It talks about Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. That is one's relationship with Krishna, how to achieve Krishna, the love of Krishna. Then from chapter 10, verse 12 to 19, Arjuna is expressing his eagerness as to how he wants to know more about Krishna, how he wants to taste the nectar of the words. Tell me more. So Arjuna is accepting Krishna as God. Arjuna's references, he gives Austam Rishi Sarva Devarshin Naradastai. He's not blindly accepting, he's quoting authority. They have accepted you as God, so you are God. And he's eager to know more about Krishna. And from verses 20 to 42, Krishna himself describes how we can see him everywhere. Krishna's opulence or Aishwarya. And Krishna is the essence of everything. Hare Krishna. So we can have some questions about this chapter.
Thank you very much, Rishi Kumar Prabhu. It's again a great pleasure, a privilege, in fact, a blessing. Because Srila Prabhupada says that this middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita can only be understood if one hears from a devotee. And we had this privilege today that the opulence of the Supreme Lord, which is explained, you have been able to share with us. So the Indian Express has graduated to detail the Gita Express. So much of details, and you have encapsulated it in, in such a way that that is the magnificence of Krishna. Like he has presented the entire sum and substance of Vedic literature in Gita. In short duration, you have explained the entire chapter. So this is another.
You gave me the PPT. It's easy.
It is an inconceivable opulence of Krishna which is being displayed. So thank you very much. But we will not let you go now. There are many, questions which these students have. So kindly shower your blessings by answering them. So go ahead, devotees. There is a chance to get. There is so much of realization with Rishi Kumar Prabhu. He has been applying the teachings of Bhagavad Gita in his life for more than 20 years. So this is a opportunity for us to get a know of how to apply Bhagavad Gita in our life. So please, open your questions and you can ask Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, already question has came.
yes, I'm just reading it. So Amrut Morade has asked this question: how to express my love to Krishna? When a mother loves a child, she serves the child. She feeds him or her. She carries him around. She puts him to sleep. She pacifies him when he's upset. Of course, Krishna is not our child, but the understanding is that he's a prime object of our affection. So when you really love someone, you serve them. So the best way to express our love to Krishna is to serve Krishna. And the more we know about Krishna, the more we will know how to serve him. The more we know about Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, attributes, associates, we'll be able to serve him even better. And we can also serve him by serving the instructions of his bona fide representative, the bona fide spiritual master and practitioners of Krishna's instructions. First, of course, by following Krishna's instructions of the Gita, we can express our love. Because like Arjuna, after he saw that the Lord had left for his own abode, he was feeling great separation. So first he thought of all the occasions when Krishna was there to help them, the Pandavas. And he was somewhat pacified, but he still felt great separation. He was feeling some bliss, but his mind was truly pacified when he meditated on the instructions of the Gita. And therein, Srila Prabhupada tells us that for each one of those practitioners of Krishna consciousness, this is something that we need to imbibe. The instructions of the Bhagavad Gita will help us feel the presence of Krishna right next to us. And when we see Krishna next to us, we'll feel like serving him. So study the instructions of the Gita, try to follow the instructions of the Gita. Like His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, my glorious spiritual master, by his mercy, I could speak something. He brought a person who could memorize the entire 700 verses of Gita to Srila Prabhupada. He brought him and said that, Srila Prabhupada, I want you to meet this person. He knows all the 700 verses of Gita. So Srila Prabhupada said, but can he leave the Gita for 7 minutes? 700 verses memorizing is fine, but to leave the Gita for 7 minutes? So that is the way we express our love for Krishna. The first thing is to live by the instructions of the Gita, because that is what Krishna wants us to do. 1. 2, by following the instructions of his bona fide representatives, serving and pleasing them. So that way we can express our love for Krishna. And 3, we can express our love for Krishna by glorifying him to others so that they can develop a love for Krishna. If we truly love Krishna, we should spread Krishna. Narada means one who gives Narayana. Nara means the community of mankind. And he delivers the Supreme Lord to each one of them. So we have to be the representatives of Narada. Keep traveling every place and just share the knowledge of God with everybody. That way we can express our love for Krishna. So I give you 3 ways. I think you can start with one of them at least.
Yes.
The second question, Advocate Atul Kumar Sharma ji is asking a question. He's saying, I have a question. That's it. So you could express it. If you really love something, express it. That's what we discussed in the presentation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yeah. May I ask the question with your permission?
Most certainly. It will be a privilege.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question that we have our in Sanatana Dharma. We have our gods like Hare Krishna and Shankar, Brahma. then why do we have the other religion in this world who are not connected to Krishna? Because in our books, religious book, it is said that only Krishna is the God for the universe. If only Krishna or Brahma is the only God for the universe, then why we have different other religions?
In this chapter itself, Krishna is addressed as Keshava by Arjuna. And Acharya say Keshava, K means Brahma and Sha represents Shiva. And Keshava means Krishna himself contains all this. And the next chapter, Krishna will reveal his universal form, where he shows that everything is a part of him. So that apart, Krishna reveals himself to everyone as per time, place, and circumstances. Now, if somebody is living in the desert and it is unnatural for them to have any decorum in terms of dealing with the opposite gender, people have relationship with their mother and sister. So somebody has to come and tell them that at least you please have a restricted amount of marriage, restricted number of marriages. Fear God. Pray to Him so many times. Discipline yourself. So that is very important. Or for a person who simply taught that love thy neighbor like thyself, he was crucified. So we are talking about people of that level of consciousness and evolution in intelligence. In time. Sanatana Dharma comes from a time and place where people were very evolved in consciousness and intelligence. So therefore, the Supreme Lord could reveal himself in his absolute essential form. But there are other cultures which were not so evolved. Kirada, Hudandra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abira Shubha, Yavanaka Sadaya. These are all the various communities across the world. Kirada is people from Africa. Hunas are people from the North Pole and nearby Scandinavia. Andhras in part of South India. Not the same Andhras we know. Abira, Shubha, Yavana, Khasada. Yavanas are people from the Middle East. Khasas are those people who are from the Northeast and from Mongoloid regions. So all these people, they are people not with a very evolved level of consciousness. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the great Acharya, mentions that love of God and a concept of faith in God is latent in everyone. Even the aborigines, they have fear of mountains or a tree or something. And gradually, as they get used to philosophies which are atheistic and materialistic, their mind gets corrupted. So they don't get a correct concept of God. Why? Because Krishna has given us the freedom to even forget Him. Matta smritir jnanam apoharamcha. If Krishna did not give us the freedom to forget Him, we can't even forget Him in one sense. Our extent of freedom, Advocate Atul, is whether we can take shelter of Krishna or not take shelter of Krishna. Now, in any other form, call him as Jehovah, Ahura Mazda, Allah, Jesus, start loving Him. Prabhupada says, if you're a Christian, be a true Christian. So we are not saying just Sanatana Dharma. At least follow your religion, the tenets of your religion perfectly. And you will make progress eventually. Yes, of course, Sanatana Dharma is eternal religion. We'll be happy if people take it up. But at the same time, they're perfectly happy with people follow their religion perfectly, ideally. Not just the rituals, but the spiritual. Is that fine?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I got it.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to improve my knowledge so I can clarify the things to others also.
Yeah. You are an advocate, so you should show your love for God by preaching about God. You can advocate Krishna.
No, I cannot advocate the Lord Krishna. I'm not so big. I'm just a small piece in this universe.
Because you're so small, you should feel grateful and glorify Him. That He is great. I am small.
Definitely, Prabhuji.
Manish Prabhu, we have our hands up.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful session. And it's very glorious to have your darshan, Prabhuji, and hear from you.
Should I turn it off?
I have a question, Prabhuji. You have told that the more one becomes pure, the more compassionate one becomes. So this part, little bit, if you elaborate, Prabhuji.
Yeah. When we become pure, we understand the pure. We can become pure by understanding the pure. When we understand the pure, which is Krishna, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, there is like Arjuna, when he heard about Krishna, he has an eagerness to hear more and more and more. So similarly, when we hear about Krishna and when we are pure, we want to hear and talk about Manchitta, Madgata, Prana, Bodhiyanta, Parasmana. We want to keep discussing about the Supreme Lord, is Krishna Gatha. and we will be so full of nectar that we would want to share it with others. So we know that people are suffering because they don't have knowledge of God. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that everything is present in this modern world. The only thing that is missing is God consciousness or spirituality. So when we are pure, someday if that happens, hum honge kamyab ek din, when we become pure, then we can actually transfer that purity to others by sharing knowledge about the pure. Like iron piece in touch with fire becomes fire. We become pure because we're in touch with Krishna. And because we're in touch with Krishna, and if we are in touch with Krishna, we'll only talk about Krishna, live Krishna, eat Krishna, breathe Krishna, hear Krishna. So when we are at that platform, it is natural for us that whoever comes in touch with us will also get Krishna. And that is true compassion. Whoever we meet, transfer Krishna to them, give them Krishna. That is the topmost welfare activity. Vedyam vastava matra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulana. The Bhagavatam says, this knowledge is absolute truth distinguished from illusion for the welfare of mankind. That is the knowledge. So it's real compassion, ultimate welfare activity to pass on this knowledge to others. And so that compassion will come. Once we are pure, we understand how much joy we are deriving. And we will feel that I would want Atmavat Sarva Bhuteshu, everyone else also to have the same knowledge, privilege, and the happiness that I have, the satisfaction that I derive. Tushyanticha, Ramanticha. Because I have it, I give it. So that is compassion. Is that fine?
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes. Understood.
So Mamta ji has asked you a question. Sometimes we couldn't complete the commitments which have been made to Krishna, like completing 16 rounds, chanting, etc. After that, we feel guilty and think that we have been degraded our devotional services towards Krishna. How Krishna will treat them for uplifting in their devotional service? Krishna will first give them the intelligence to ask such questions that I'm making a mistake. So Krishna will, in the heart of his devotees, Krishna comes in this form of his thoughts also. Thinking about Krishna is not different. If I keep saying, I can't remember Krishna, I can't remember Krishna, I can't remember Krishna, that is remembering Krishna. But at the same time, we should have a minimum target. 16 rounds is at least 16 rounds. So that is a target. Missing our rounds means we are spiritually sick. That's a fact. But if we are sick, there are also doctors to help us. Associate with doctors, associate with devotees who are more serious than you, who don't miss their rounds. Chant with them, sit with them. There are japa circles, there are online japa sessions going on in many groups. You can join any of them. Come to the temple and sit with the devotees and chant. Occasionally on Ekadashi, chant more rounds. Take a vow of chanting more rounds. And when you chant more, just like you switch off the fan for some time, the fan will keep going on. Quite similarly, when we keep chanting extra rounds, you'll feel the motivation and the momentum to chant more rounds. So every day you can do that. And if by chance you miss your round, immediately compensate it the very next day. Don't keep it pending. So it's okay. You made a mistake. Move on. Don't keep flogging yourself saying, oh, I'm bad. Better to light the candle than curse the darkness. It's more important. So light the candle and associate with devotees who are good in sadhana and be accountable, Mamtaji. Be accountable to some Vaishnava or Vaishnavi who can guide you in your spiritual life. Be accountable. I send my sadhana report to 3-4 of my mentors and 3 of my best friends. I have many best friends. 3 of them I send my sadhana report. So it helps you keep accountable. I'm 22 years into the movement. I'm in my 22nd year. But still we are accountable. Nobody is spared. So be accountable. We think it is free. It's only Krishna. What will happen? Office में नौकरी छूट जाए तो दिक्कत होती है इसलिए we'll work. घर पे घर वाले गुस्सा करेंगे इसलिए we'll do something. But Krishna, because we are not yet pure, we don't recognize our relationship with Krishna and how important he is to us. So we cut corners. So when we have somebody to be accountable to, for whom we have fearful respect, that this person will correct me, he will be displeased, it is not good for my devotion. So then we will, by default, start doing all these things. Is it okay, Mamtaji?
Actually, Mamta had an exam. She just completed today the ARS exam. And some of the devotees have joined today. For last almost a month or so, they were very absorbed in trying to prepare for their exam.
Yeah, so take a target and now do a japa marathon. Complete your rounds and get the energy and distribute Gītas.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I have one doubt, Prabhuji.
Sure.
As you mentioned that absence of Krishna is darkness, means like darkness is not coming from Krishna. But in one conversation of Srila Prabhupada, he has mentioned that Krishna is source of everything. Everything, even he has given an example of his rascaldom also, that but his rascaldom is very sweet, but when it comes to us, it is not good. So each and everything is coming from Krishna. Kindly elaborate this thing, Prabhuji, because
Shastra
it is
says Krishna Surya Maya Hai Andhakar, Jaha Krishna Nahi Taha Maya Radhikar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says very clearly. Krishna is like dark, Godhead is light, darkness is nescience. Where there is no Godhead, there is darkness, there is nescience. So what is Maya? Maya is absence of Krishna, ignorance, illusion, absence of Krishna. Krishna is there everywhere, but you choose to look away from Krishna. Like I am sitting, I am giving this class. Suddenly I turn my back on you. Can I see you or not? No. So just like that, if I open the windows of my house, the sunlight will come inside. If I close the door and say there is no sun, there's no meaning. So that evil is that, closing the window. When the jiva chooses to misuse his free will, then there is evil. Krishna, there cannot be evil. Per se, Krishna cannot be evil because God can only be good. And in the eventual analysis, there is only good because we are spiritual. Spirituality means that which is good. Evil is a concept that is purely material. And why does it come? Because Krishna Bulyaji Bhagavan Chagare. We've forgotten Krishna and we try to enjoy independent of Krishna. Therefore, we feel goodness and evil. We feel what is good and what is bad, what is win and what is loss. Sukha Dukha Samay Kritva, Labha Labha Jaya Jaya. This is the quality consciousness to develop. The government gives you the license to drive a car, but you drive on the footpath and cause an accident. Can you say the government is responsible? Can you say, Sonika?
no, Prabhuji.
So by the same token, Krishna has given us the choice to remember him. Mad mana bhava mad bhakto. And when we don't remember him, when we don't try to take his devotional life seriously, then we will have to perforce take shelter of Maya. And Arjuna asks Krishna, Ata kena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha, nishchannape varshneya baladeva niyojita. Why does the living entity do evil activities seemingly against his own will, as if impelled by force? Isn't that the question really? Why is there evil? Why are we committing evil acts if God is good? And Krishna replies, Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava, Mahachano Mahapapa Vidyana. We forget Krishna, we come under the influence of Maya, material nature. Satogun, Rajagun, Tamogun. So these are ropes which bind us. You see Bhagavad Gītā right in the beginning, you will see those modes operating. They are through the ropes, they are tying us. We are like puppets in their hands. So we come under the influence of the material energy of the Lord. So it is like the punishing element. So we get punished because we want to enjoy independent of God. Because we choose the punishment. Krishna doesn't want to punish us. We choose to flog ourselves. We choose to burn ourselves. We choose to hammer ourselves. And finally we get pure. The easier way is to not forget Krishna. So evil comes because Krishna Bulyaji. We've chosen to forget Krishna. We have free will. Evil exists because there is a state whereby we can forget Krishna. There are only two states, where we remember Krishna and where we forget Krishna. If you remember Krishna, it is all good. If you don't remember Krishna, it is all evil. Everything is evil if you don't remember Krishna. Whichever way, altruism, philanthropy, humanitarianism, everything is evil if there is no Krishna. So that is our choice, because we are tatasthas, we are at the borderline. We can take shelter of Krishna or not take shelter of Krishna. Krishna is the source of everything. That is the next. Kunalji also asked the same question. Krishna is the source of everything. But when we neglect that Krishna is the source of everything, we are in a situation which is evil. The situation where we don't remember Krishna and acknowledge him is called evil. It is not evil because it has come from Krishna. It is evil because we have gone away from Krishna. There is no darkness in the sun. You cannot say darkness is inside the sun. All light comes from sun. Darkness cannot come from the sun. Darkness is when there is absence of sunlight. Therefore, evil is when there is absence of godliness in our life. Is that fine?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for clarifying.
And Rabindra ji is asking this question. Dolmani Amat Prabhu also had his hand up. I will answer that question and then Rabindra ji. Yes, Dolmani Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My question is not related to today's session, but you gave very nice session, Prabhuji.
Sorry, out of
So my
syllabus.
question is that yes, Prabhuji, how to be free from
I said sorry, out
speculation,
of
Prabhuji?
syllabus. How can we be free from speculation?
Yes, Prabhuji.
By focusing on the chapter of the day. No, I'm just saying that we can be free from speculation by associating with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Because when there is speculation, it means we are applying our thought processes. And our thought processes are currently not pure. So when we are not pure, we take shelter of the pure. What is pure? Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. By taking shelter of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, we can be free from speculation. And it is always better to consult those who are spiritually more evolved than us. Double check when in doubt. Otherwise, we may think that it is a super soul dictating from within. It may be our mind telling us, don't get up for Mangalarti, it is okay, you slept late last night. And then you blame it on Krishna. That is speculation. Instead, we could consult with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And that will give us a clear direction. Is that fine?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
I don't think you speculate. You're an intelligent man. Kiranji, after that, Kunal.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, we are eternally part and parcel or eternal fragments of Krishna. So our natural tendency should be to love Krishna and serve Krishna. But how come we have become so rebellious to Krishna? Means we have become duality in this material nature. That's what my doubt actually.
Were you born in Krishna consciousness or you used to watch movies also before? Did you watch movies before? Yeah, maybe they too.
Earlier, yes. We used to watch earlier movies before.
Now you're not watching?
Rarely, very rarely.
Pata hai.
Very rarely do.
Okay. So when I was in college, before I came
We
to
do
this
watch
school, when I was in college, there was a Hollywood movie which came. I forgot the name of the movie, but I think the lady's name is Melanie Griffith probably. And she gives this dialogue that if you really believe something is yours, set it free. If it comes back to you, it belongs to you. If it doesn't, it never really belonged to you. So Krishna loves us so much that he gives us the freedom to even forget him. Our parents love us, but they will be unhappy if we forget them. They're attached to us. But Krishna is so merciful, so loving, so caring, that he says, my dear Jiva, you don't want me? You think I don't have form? I will allow you to say I don't have form. You say I don't exist? I will allow you to say I don't exist. You say I am 33 crore forms? I will allow you to say that. You say I have no form? I will allow you to say that. You say I don't exist? I will allow you to say that. Such love. Why? Because if you and I are playing hide and seek, Kiranji, and I tell you, you hide in the bedroom, I will look for you. There's no fun.
Yes.
There has to be the element of free will. The living entity has the free will that is programmed into its constitutional algorithm. It is already programmed, free will. So, like Krishna is Swaraj, he's a supreme, free, transcendental autocrat, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. He's a transcendental autocrat. So, because he is free, Baap ka beta sipahi ka goda kuch nahi to thoda thoda. We also have a little bit of freedom. But the extent of our freedom is whether we can take shelter of Krishna or not take shelter of Krishna. So, when we misuse that freedom, then there is a problem. If we did not have the freedom to forget him, we will never be able to relish the joy of loving him. Nor will we be completely committed to loving him, because if Krishna forces us to love him, then it is not love, it is force. Is that fine, Kiranji?
Yes, Prabhuji. It is.
Kunal Akhiraji. Is Krishna's incarnation and opulences for different qualities or different persons, like Ram for strict rules and Krishna for love and Lord Narasimha for defects and devotees? Can you explain in detail? Yeah, I understood. Can be difference. Okay. Yes, Keshava Dhrita Dashavida Rupa. Krishna takes not just 10 forms, he takes innumerable forms. Bhagavatam says Krishna has as many forms as there are endless waves in the ocean. Krishna appears, Prabhupada says, not just in human society, he appears in animal society, in tree society also. Aham adirhi devana, manmana bhavaman bhakto, sarvadharman parityajya. Krishna is saying all these things because he is more anxious to get us back than we ourselves want to go back to him. And Krishna descends, Ajopi Sannavyayatma, Bhujanam, Bhutanam Ishwaropi, Prakritim Swamadhishtaya, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya, or Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. He comes as Krishna and Krishna Chaitanya in his own form. How and why? He appears in order to attract us to the spiritual world. Otherwise, why would Krishna performing pastimes like stealing butter and holding the tails of calves just to give joy? Iti driksvalila bir ananda kunde swaghosham nimanjantam akhyapayantam. He immerses the Vrajavasis into the loving pastimes of his, so that they feel attracted. Karshati iti Krishna. Just like you show a trailer and make the people watch the movie. An advertisement showing now at a theater next to you. So like that. So Krishna comes and displays his beautiful pastimes, his leelas. It could be in the form of Narasimha, it could be in the form of Vamana, Parashurama, or it could be in the form of Buddha. Time, place, and circumstances. Krishna takes expansions, incarnations, plenary portions, in order to ensure paritranaya sadhunam first, to deal in exchanges, loving exchanges with his devotees, and then vinashaya cha dushkritam, to kill demons. Jayatu Jayatu Prithvi Bharanasha Mukunda. To kill demons with corona is enough. You don't need to have Krishna coming in his form. Little corona can give us trouble. So Krishna is coming primarily to have loving exchanges with his devotees. And the main reason Lord Narasimha appeared was to fulfill the benediction of his dear devotee Brahmaji and to protect his pure devotee Prahlad Maharaj. So it's an exchange of love. Lord Ramachandra exchanged such wonderful relationship with his parents, with his wife, with his children, even with his enemies, with his friends. So in many ways it is to exchange loving relationships, rasaha. The Supreme Lord is characterized by raso vaisaha. Saggukhyavayam labdhvanandi bhavati, says the Vedic mantra. He is full of essence, rasa, mellow. So he is there to exchange rasa. Depending on the incarnation, depending on the desire of the devotee, the Supreme Lord exchanges rasa with the devotee. Like Bhishmadev was in a rasa of Veera rasa. He wanted to fight with the Lord and please him. So he exchanged that rasa with him. Kubja wanted to exchange rasa of a paramour. So he exchanged that rasa with her. So the Lord is most merciful. Commensurate with our desire to associate with him, he reciprocates. So the essence of his incarnations is this: dealing in loving exchanges with the devotees. And to perform a certain, fulfill a certain purpose, sometimes he does that. Is that fine?
Okay, thank you,
Kunalji?
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Rati Manjari Priya Mataji, she's based out of Damodar Desh. She attends my online classes normally. And today we have her association also. She's asking, may I ask with a kind permission the question, Jivas originate from Brahman. Officially, the GPC position is that the Jiva has fallen from the spiritual world. So we were with the spiritual abode. But at the same time, Krishna himself says, Mamaiva Amsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. They're all eternal. You are all eternally my parts and parcels. Brahman is the external energy. It's not the external. Brahman is the effulgence of the Lord. Bhasvan ethasmi shakaleshu nijeshu tejaha. It's the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Lord. So, we have not emerged from some bodily effulgence of the Lord. We are very much part and parcels of the Lord. That is what Krishna says. So, we take that aspect. He may be situated in Brahman. Brahman means spiritual vastu, adhyatmika vastu, spiritual entity. That we are situated. So that way it is Brahman. Krishna is Brahman. We are also Brahman. But he is Param Brahman. But it's Krishna's his effulgence that is the Brahman, really speaking. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaneti Shabdate. In Krishna's personal form, we are his parts and parcel. That's the way we have to understand. Is that fine, Rati Manjari Mataji?
Hare Krishna. So basically,
For more details, you can read with sufficient permission Jaiva Dharma.
Okay, I just wanted to check. It's Brahman is the Lord, right? I mean, we have found.
Brahman is the Lord. Brahman is the Lord, but it's one aspect of the Lord. Krishna is not just Brahman.
Yes,
Krishna is Brahman and Paramatma and Bhagavan.
okay, so it's the effulgence. Okay, thank you.
Essentially, when you say what, with reference to this context, what are you asking?
Prabhuji, in the purport of Ishopanishad Mantra 16, it says that you all pervading nature of the Lord.
Yeah, but here we are. Okay, so it's not related to today's class. I was wondering where it's mentioned. Okay, fine.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so thank you all.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Okay.
One question was remaining of Ravindra Prabhuji.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. How can we see the opulences of the Supreme Lord in everything? What qualifications required for this? The only qualification we require for this is Tatra laulyamapi mulyamekalam koti janma sukrutina labhyate. Just cultivate the eagerness to hear about the Supreme Lord. Because we understand God is good. Like the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Or we say goodbye. Goodbye means God be with you. God is good. So everything about God is good. So when we at least recognize the need that we need to know God more, develop the eagerness and the inquisitiveness to know more about God, to associate with His devotees, to practice all those things that will get us closer to the Lord, then there will be reciprocation from the Lord. And then the Yoma Pashyati Sarvam Mahi Pashyati. Tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. It's very interesting. I always think it is sachme na pranashyati. Krishna is actually saying, in truth, you will not die. Sachame na pranashyati. One who sees me in everything and everything in me. So, that understanding comes by hearing about Krishna. Hearing is the first qualification. Rapt attention, the Srimad Bhagavatam says. Hearing with rapt attention from a bona fide spiritual master who has purified his eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. Hear from that person or his devotees, associate with them, and perform the process of Navavida Bhakti. And that will give us all the qualification to see Krishna and everything. That habit will start coming. And it also requires training. We are trained to see the Supreme Lord's presence. Like, we didn't know that Krishna was in prasadam. We used to just eat. Now that having coming in the Krishna consciousness, we offer the food to Krishna and then we accept it as prasadam. and we say Krishna is not different from his prasadam. At least theoretically we are understanding. So that comes with training and knowledge. So similarly, we should increase our, like at some point of time when we chant attentively, we'll eventually develop the knowledge that Krishna is not different from his name. Quite similarly, by associating with the holy name and the devotees, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, you will gradually develop the understanding that Krishna is present in this laptop, Krishna is present in the mic, Krishna is present in Mantra of Life logo also. Like that. Krishna is in everything. Krishna is not everything. Is one understanding. Krishna is in the mic, Krishna is not the mic. But a higher understanding would be Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat. Everything is Krishna. But for that, we have to develop a great appreciation of everything as Krishna's energy. Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetaraha. Parasya Brahmana Shakti Tatheva Makilam Jagat. We have to develop that understanding gradually. It will come by Sadhu Sangha and Bhajana Kriya. And as the anarthas in our heart start getting removed, getting unraveled, name, form, qualities, pastimes, attributes, associates, paraphernalia of the Lord, everything will become apparent. Then we can connect everything to Krishna. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe. Naturally it will come. But a married woman cannot immediately expect a child. She has to wait for 9 months. Prabhupada says. So quite similarly, we have to have utsaha to practice, the nischaya to continue the practice, and the dhairya to wait patiently for the results. Hope that's fine.
Thank you, Bro. Hare Krishna.
Sorry if I bored all of you way beyond your time, because I was told it's 8:30 is the closing time.
No, Prabhuji. 8:30 to 9, it was question and answer session time only.
What is
Prabhuji.
that? It said 7:15 to 8. So I logged in at 7:20, getting worried that I was late. And then I could hear this nice Mahamantra tune for 10 minutes.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful session. We all of us get benefited with your discussion, with your clarification. All we request you to kindly bless us a few more times, also, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Subject to time and Pandavri both.
Hare Krishna. So we are indeed very, very grateful. You can see, and this is what love in real terms is. A practical demonstration is right in front of us. Prabhuji is being inconvened by his bad health, by the cold, by the bad throat. But when I requested him, he was away. He was in Gurgaon. I didn't see him. And he was traveling, and he has so many assignments, so many very, very important services he does. But he does not want to let go any opportunity to render service, to preach, and to pass Krishna to others. So this is what we have really gained today, a practical demonstration of what love is for Krishna. So thank you very much for sharing your heartfelt realizations.
I don't know about Krishna, I definitely allow for you.
I am privileged. I am very privileged. Thank you once again, and we look forward to have your association again. All our obeisances unto you.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.